Good morning, good people, fellow humans. And how do we spell that? Huemonds, humans, colorful nuts. Okay, so here we are once again. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning in southwestern Nevada, west of Sin City and east of Death Valley, right in Area 51-ish, sort of, but not really territory. Art Bell, George Norrie territory. Strange, spooky things here, spooky people, hardtack people who don't want to lose what they got. But that's okay. That's okay. Great learning experience. When you're used to being around people who have an abundance and they want to share it, and then you get around people who are scratching, every penny counts, everything counts, resources are scarce, you tend to have people every man for himself. People walk around with guns on, wearing guns, having guns, kind of like every man for himself. You're always worried that somebody's going to take what you have. No, not a good plan. Good morning, Memory. Good morning. So here we are once again. Boom. And this podcast, this daily podcast, is for our students and interested people who want to best prepare for the destination. They want to have the best experience on this journey. You don't have to suffer on the journey. That's the key. You don't have to suffer, but don't go the other way where it is pursuit of pleasure. La vida loca. No, that's the trap. That's the cheese that's put out there. It's not how you feel. Feeling should not be the motivator. Okay, so anyway, that's why we're here. This is week 2, day 2 of our 4-week class. So this is about neurotransmitters. Yesterday's class was about neurons, or neurons, as we call them. Yuval Harari calls them neurons. I think that's how they translate it from Hebrew. Those are cells in our brains that contain our lived past, our anticipated future, our ability to simulate our personality, things like that. Those are all stored in the neurons of our brain, in particular patterns. How do we know that? How do we know it's not stored in our heart? Well, it's obvious, right? How is it obvious? Because if you have a heart transplant, you're still you. Your memory still exists. But if you have a stroke, or if you get Alzheimer's, or as we learned last week from Dr. Daniel Amen, alcohol, drugs, traumatic brain injury, disease, or something growing on your brain, those 5 things happen. Your lived past, anticipated future, your ability to simulate, all of those things are affected. Put a nail through the side of your skull, you're going to be different. Put a nail through your hand, you might feel different, you might have different ability to do stuff, but your lived past, anticipated future, ability to simulate, all of those things remain intact. So it's in our brain. Today is neurotransmitters, chemicals that are released in our brain and in our body that make us feel. So all of our feelings are the result of the release of neurotransmitters. Simon Sinek talks about 5 neurotransmitters. 4 make us feel good. He'll say 90% of our happiness is related to the release of these 4 neurotransmitters: endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. And he breaks them down, each one of them down, how they're released. And the last one is cortisol. Brain freeze serves a very useful purpose, but doesn't make us feel good, right? When you are frozen in fear, it's because of a massive dose of cortisol released. You don't know what to do. You can't move. That is cortisol, people. Why do we care? We care because if we know about the and we know how to release them, we know what causes them to be released, then we can control our emotions by releasing the neurotransmitters. Okay, so if we need to feel brave, all we have to do is things that we need to do to make us feel brave. Neurotransmitter gets released in our system, boom, we feel brave. NA. It works, but not for the reasons they say it works. What do they tell you to do when you feel like drinking? Let's say it's A. What do they tell you to do? They tell you to call your sponsor, go to a meeting. What neurotransmitter is released when you call your sponsor? Oxytocin, right. What is it? What neurotransmitter is causing you to want to drink? Dopamine, right. Dopamine wants us to drink. We got it, it's going to make us feel good. We feel bad, something's up, stress, whatever it is. I see alcohol, smell alcohol, think of alcohol. And all of a sudden, a massive amount of dopamine is released in my system that gets me to nothing is going to keep me away from that alcohol. Oh, wait a second. I just remembered something. Call my sponsor or go to a meeting. I need to call my sponsor. And the fact when I think about calling my sponsor, when I think about going to a meeting, I start releasing oxytocin. Because if I have a good relationship with my sponsor, a close relationship, all of a sudden, positive feelings are going to happen. Positive feelings. What's that? Oxytocin. As you release oxytocin, the dopamine goes off. As you turn on the oxytocin spigot, the dopamine spigot goes off. That's why AA works. They didn't know it when they came up with it because we didn't have the ability, we didn't have the technology, the tools to know about it. All they knew is if you were going to drink and you called your sponsor or you went to a meeting, it helped. That's all they knew. It helped. So they thought it was that. They didn't take it down several levels below that to say, no, what's actually happening in the brain, what's happening in our body. We didn't have the tools and technology to do that. So we could only see it at the level of if you call your sponsor, if you pray. What does praying do? Oxytocin and serotonin, right. If you're a member of a good church and you have pride in the church you go to, you're proud to be a Christian, you wear a crucifix or a cross on your neck. If you do those things, it makes you feel good, releases serotonin. You feel happy because you are proud of that. You have a tattoo of Mary or a cross or whatever, some saying, some verse. John 3:16 tattooed on your arm. When you look at that, you feel good. That serotonin is being released. Okay. If you remember when you got the tattoo with your best friend and you look at the tattoo and you think about John 3:16 and you have a memory of the person you were there, then you think of how much you love that person. Oxytocin and serotonin are released, an angel's cocktail. That's how it is. So if we understand that, then we can take control of our emotions by thinking certain things or doing certain things. But it's about the release of neurotransmitters. How do we release neurotransmitters? And to not have guilt or shame regarding addiction, because what addiction fundamentally is basically down at a neuroscience level in the brain. Addiction is behavior that results from massive releases of dopamine. Okay, so if you're a work addict, what do? What makes you kind of feel good? What is compelling? You just can't not do it. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to shoot baskets. I got to paint. I got to do whatever. I'm a workaholic. I'm a sexaholic. I'm a pornographic-aholic. I'm a whatever your addiction is. It's because you keep doing it. You can't stop. You can't stop because you get dopamine when you do it, right? It's compelling you to do it. It's repeated behavior. And we think it's bad. No, the behavior's bad. The motive, the driver of it, the trigger is dopamine. So if you go wind the clock all the way back to caveman days, who would you want to have as the leader of your caveman tribe? The guy who, if you needed food, the guy who was going to get the food, or the person who said, well, who knows, maybe tomorrow a deer will stumble into our camp. Or the guy who says, I see an apple tree several miles away, or I'm way over there, and there's very sharp rocks and glass between us and the apple tree, and there's a saber-toothed tiger. And the person with the most dopamine is going to get the food. That's who you want as your leader. So having massive amounts of dopamine is a survival mechanism. In times of scarcity, he who has the most dopamine wins. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. The person who is most committed, what makes them committed is they can release dopamine to just keep going. I am not going to stop. I'm going to get that thing. That is good. But in times of abundance, and you release a lot of dopamine, there's a thing there's a target. And if you grow up believing alcoholism is inherited, it runs in my family, and you release a lot of dopamine, and your history is you have alcoholics in your family, and you just happen to like alcohol, you're going to think, oh no, I'm an alcoholic. I'm doomed to being an alcoholic. So when you get this massive release of dopamine in response to whatever, something stressful is going on, you want relief, you want to feel better. This is all non-conscious. You want to feel better. Alcohol made you feel better. Dopamine is going to be the thing that's going to be the driver. So in times of abundance, having too much dopamine is not good. In times of shortage, when there's a shortage of resources, whoever has the most dopamine wins. So you shouldn't feel guilty about the dopamine, or you shouldn't feel guilty about the addiction. You should I need to focus my attention on something else. And a thing, maybe a whole bunch of things, so it's not an addiction. It's just you're not addicted to a thing. You're just focused on several things. You're what's called conscientious in the big 5 personality traits. You're highly conscientious. You're like somebody, if you are in the forest and they give you an axe, you're just going to go around chopping down trees all day long. Okay, so that is what day 2 of week 2 is. Neurotransmitters. Yesterday, neurons, all of these things are stored in our brain. Today, it's the chemicals that make us feel. Ultimately, we're going to tie these things together. So if I can release the chemicals to make me feel the way I need to feel to do the things I need to do to get the outcome I want, if I get good at that, if I learn how to do it, then I will be successful. And tomorrow, I like a sharp axe, right? Sharpen the saw, right? How about a sharpened saw? You got to take time to sharpen the axe in this case. Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me any questions, right? Okay, so moving right along, getting into it, our meme of today, the theme of today is, what is your distraction? So that kind of fits in very good with neurotransmitters, right? So this is a Darren Hardy thing, and he gives this tale of Kobe Bryant talking to a guy, a basketball player, who says, what's the thing? And Kobe Bryant gives him the story about the lion. So a lion, male lion, needs to get the food, but he has all these distractions. There's bugs all over him, flies, in his eyes and things. He's covered in flies and bugs and things, all these little distractions. The lion has to keep focused on the prey. And Darren Hardy says, because if you don't get the prey, you might not eat for 6 months. Well, I think that's an exaggeration, but in your pride, your little tribe, they might not eat. So you have to stay focused. You can't let little things distract you. See, like I'm distracted right now. It says asterisk R. I like a sharp axe R. Okay. What is your distraction? What is the thing that distracts you? What is our goal? To be focused. Now, also on our sheet, our worksheet for today, you have things talking about focus. The Daily Stoic, very good short little video talking about focus. Also, Jordan Peterson talking about focus. These are little 1-minute shorts talking about focus. Gotta focus. Simon Sinek, neurotransmitters. That's Daily Stoic, Seth's blog, Unforced Errors, How We Doing for Time, People. It's such a runic rhyme, almost out of time. Axe. Oh, axe. Right. Okay. Good. So last night we had strategy meeting number 2. And I think it was good in the sense that we're moving forward. We're starting to think like strategists. We're starting to get the idea of what is a strategist, and that's an important thing. That's a skill that we will do. We will hone that like a sharp axe, or like a sharp ask. Ask me no questions, or ask me no questions. I don't know. You tell me. Who's on first? Right? So, Mamori, if I say to you, how long is a Chinaman? What do you say if I say to you, how long is a Chinaman? We'll wait for the answer. Okay, as we're waiting for the answer, we're waiting for Mamori's answer. What does she say if we say, how long is a Chinaman? I will look and see what else we got. Okay, Seth Godin, unforced errors. In hospitality and customer service, perfect is elusive. Someone is going to miss a shift, have a bad day, or fail to understand the situation. But there's a second kind of error. That's the one that's far more common when management makes bad choices or underinvests in systems, ding, 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 systems, training, and people. It's not really an error. It's a choice that costs everyone involved. These are choices with consequences. Don't blame the actors if you have a lousy script. When you built that automated phone tree to save a few dollars on customer service, you were choosing to lose some of your best customers. When you planned a lazy and boring menu for the group meeting at your hotel, you chose to send a message of carelessness. And when you ask underappreciated and poorly trained staff to step up and be the face of your organization, you're risking your future. Okay, so this is an important thing for us regarding our mission, Mamori, is sending the guy out. This is an important one. Customer service is a chance to create delight and impact. It can amplify or undermine the marketing investments that you say are important. And yet, management often fails to see the systems they are building and maintaining. Begin with, we're doing these things on purpose with intent. As in all things, getting the systems right is the foundation for everything else that follows. Your hospitality strategy is the problem, not bad luck or uncaring staff. Okay. Mamori says, I don't know. If I say, what do you say when I say, how long is a Chinaman? You say, I don't know. Well, the answer is, oh, that's an interesting name. How long is his name? How long is a Chinaman? What were you thinking? Hmm? What were you thinking? Okay, so, oh, wow, we are way over our time. Goodbye, people. Boom, bonk.